Raghunath, are you ready for this?
What?
The wisdom of the sages trainings that are going on.
Where?
At the Eco Village, the Govardhan Eco Village in India.
Why?
To totally transform your life spiritually.
Who?
You, me, Raghunath Swami's going to be there. Other great teachers are going to be there. Lots of cool people.
How?
You go to wisdomofthesages.com/events. You find all the information there.
Haribo.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Live from Super Soul Farm, this is Wisdom of the Sages, a daily yoga podcast with your host, Raghunath, and co-host and senior educator at the Bhakti Center in New York, Kastubha Das. Welcome to the show, everybody. Welcome to Makeover Monday. Had a rough week last week. Hey, it's Monday. Time to recalibrate. Time to shake up the Etch-a-Sketch, start off on the right foot. Kastubha, we missed you.
Possibly.
Shave your head, possibly. Yeah, Catherine A., the handstand queen. She's here live right now. She came and shaved her head. And
I do that sometimes, you know.
Let's get her on right now. Catherine, get over here. Let's get her on the show right now. She's here live with Yogeshri and Rachel and Jeff. All right, stick your face right in that microphone. I've got a question for her.
She looks very bright.
She's always got a bright attitude.
Always.
The question is, how do you feel? Why'd you do it? That's the question.
Oh my gosh.
Get in here quick.
Hare Krishna, everyone.
Get right on the mic.
I feel amazing. I can think better. I'm I have a ton of energy.
I have a shaven head and I don't think better.
Yeah, no, it's amazing. So yeah, I felt the raindrops on my head last night. It's awesome.
It's a little colder, isn't it?
Super blessed. Yeah, but I'm really hot, so it's good. It's awesome.
Okay, she's got pitta.
Yeah, she's got a lot. Are you kidding? We're going on japa walks with the group this weekend. She's running up and down the street. She can't get to. Thank you.
She's always was that kind of a light bulb of energy. Now all the more so.
Yeah. Well, I tell you, there is something, Cindy Lunsford shaved her head. My wife shaved her head once. Ariana Linder, sure. There's something that when you shave your head, and I remember when I was a brahmachari, because we'd always try to get the new guy to shave his head. People are very attached to their hair.
It's true.
Because it's part of their sort of coolness. And then when you shave it, it's like a release of your ego, so to speak. You know what I mean? It's a release of your ego. First time I ever had to put on a robe, which I thought were always sort of uncool. I mean, now I think they're actually very cool. But when I was 22, I was like, oh, this thing. I think the women's saris are sort of cool. Yeah, but the dhoti, I thought was a little uncool.
Few men do it well.
Few men, yeah. Some people, some
few
guys
Western men do it well.
They don't look good on shorties like me, but I like them anyway.
Some short guys wear them well, Raghunath.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway, I've changed, and I get it now. But back then, it was it was a little hurt of my ego. And shaving the head, it's a big one. It's but when you actually do it with joy, that renunciation becomes joyful. Because you stop worrying about what people think of you all the time. You know what I mean? That's what it is. You're I don't care what you think of me. I don't care anymore. And it's just a release of your ego, I think.
Yeah, it can be. It can work like that, right?
It can be.
Simplify life.
Because 3 times during the day, Catherine A. said, what do you think of me shaving my head? And I gave her the same answer every time. I said, there's always a benefit from renunciation if it's done with the appropriate intention.
Oh, there you go.
Hashtag that one. Mara's not here today. She's still sort of in mourning, and she's a little exhausted. She went to a funeral of her very good friend all weekend. She's in Austin.
Okay.
So me and Kastubha, Mara sent me a to-do list for the show today, just so I don't, because she knows I tend to space out a little bit. So anyway.
All right, Raghunath. So you had a good weekend. It seems like you had
we had a great weekend. Our Bhakti Vinyas weekend with Cindy Lunsford and myself, and Lori Pag was there with a crew of her people. It was great. We had a big crew of people, a section of the people were like, yeah, I'll sign up for it, because they had faith in Cindy, or they had faith in Lori, or not my people, but the faith in Cindy or Lori. And they were but they didn't quite, because Cindy's an expert at strong asana. I mean, they're both expert at strong asanas, but she's a hot yoga woman. She's a hot yoga woman in love with a hot-hearted man. Anyway, she's a hot yoga woman. And then Lori's a very powerful vinyas teacher, but not everybody maybe necessarily knows that they're strong Bhakti bend. And so these people some of the people came and they're like, I have no idea what I'm signing up for here today. And it was great because they just had a great, I think they did, unless they were lying. I think they had a great taste for like a really intro into Bhakti. And we did go really deep, and I got to meet people. And, when you talk about really like vulnerable things, it allows people to share like their deepest emotions,
open up,
and struggles and stuff like that. And it was quite a sweet weekend.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, do we have any announcements today, Raghunath?
Yeah, let me check the cheat sheet that Mara sent me. She wrote cheat sheet. Make us stupid the co-host. Click the button to uncheck allow participants to unmute. It's the same place where you disable the waiting room. Okay. Oh, I forgot to do that.
You don't have to read all of this, Raghunath. You just have to do it.
Oh, there's an asana at 4 p.m. with Zeb.
There we go.
And a BRG, Bhakti Recovery Group, at 1. So if you've never taken a class with Zeb, he's the best.
He's the master.
He's the master. He's the Yogi Raj. And Bhakti Recovery Group at 1. And the reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam is 4:25:14. But before we get there, we got a nugget from the man, Mr. Kastuba. Now, Kastuba did not realize when he got this nugget. It's Khalil Gibran this week.
Yeah,
right?
The Prophet Week.
Didn't we already have the Prophet Week?
No. We've had prophet interviews where we do interviews in the prophet style.
That's right.
Yeah, so maybe we should mention a little bit about Khalil and the prophet, right?
Tell us, Kastuba, enlighten us.
Actually, this is something for little Karuna.
Is he Persian?
In Beirut. He's Lebanese American. Yeah, like he was an immigrant to America.
Wait, Khalil Gibran was American?
Well, he was an immigrant.
Okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah, and he was a poet. He of course, his most famous book is The Prophet.
Yeah.
And The Prophet is this, it's a really interesting book about the way it's written. It's like 26 or 27 kind of poetic, I don't know what you'd call it, but like discourses on different topics. But the way that he sets it up is that there's this prophet, this man, I believe his name is Ali Mustafa. And he's been living in this one place for 12 years. And the book opens up with, he's standing on a cliff and he sees that a boat is coming, and that boat is coming for him to take him back to where he's from. And he's never going to come back to where he's been the last 12 years. And all the people who've appreciated him and his wisdom and his kindness and so much, they all come to him, a little bit heartbroken that this dear person is going to leave them. But they realize, well, this is our last chance to kind of churn him for some of his insights in life. And so they ask questions, very general questions on these, kind of topics of, the human condition. And one by one, he speaks on them. So we'll be drawn from there this week.
Well, here's the nugget. You ready, sir?
I'm ready. Read it slow, because it's a short one.
Okay. Verily, the lust for comfort. The lust
pregnant
for
pause.
comfort.
Yes.
Pregnant pause, right? Murders the passion of the soul, and then walks grinning into the funeral.
Oh, that's cold.
Verily, the lust for comfort murders the passion of the soul, and then walks grinning in the funeral.
Okay.
You don't know this,
Your thoughts?
but this is a Christian miracle. This quote influenced the old school shelter song "In the Name of Comfort."
You were reading The Prophet?
I don't know what I was reading, but I was probably reading
Sounds
something.
like it.
Yeah.
Or maybe some quote book or something.
Well, you know why? Because that song "In the Name of Comfort" and this quote is all about consumption and convenience.
Oh.
And with we're over consumed as culture. It was because I was trying. That was just at the time in my life when I wrote that song, where I was just leaving the material world. Like I was quitting my band. I went to India. I started to appreciate renunciation, and I saw the world as these people. Everybody just wants to consume. They want fast food, and relationships are fast, and sex is fast, and families, everything's
Fast cars.
everything's like a paper cup. Everything's disposable. We've created a disposable society. You can't even, people just run through things, just throw it out, buy a new one. And it's starting, and we'll do that at the cost of anything. What do you think about that?
Well, it's true. I suppose it's the history of civilizations, right? When they become prosperous, eventually they kind of, become, people say they become soft, or that, like you begin to just become absorbed in the opulence that you have. You begin to lose your awareness of what's important, and you begin to disintegrate in different ways. And I think that's what happens. The body is, it's in the senses, they have their demands. Will we be controlled by them? Will they control us, or will we control them? And the yogi says, I've had enough of being controlled, by my senses. I've had enough, here, lust, we could say in Sanskrit, kama, right? Kama murders I think we mentioned this also last week, that, in the Bhagavad Gita, although it's taking place on the battlefield, when Krishna is speaking to Arjuna about the enemy, he's never talking about the people on the other side. Right? He's
very, very insightful, my friend.
Yes, I got this from the spiritual scientist. He's always talking about the enemies within to Arjuna. And specifically he identifies kama, or here it can be translated as lust, but it means also in a more general sense, material desire. That material desire is the enemy. Here it's saying that verily, that kama, for comfort, right? It murders the passion of the soul. What is the soul meant to be? We have so much potential. There's so much that the soul is capable of experiencing its own nature, right? Which is beautiful, which is blissful, which is enlightened, but the body and the mind's desires for all these comforts in life, they just completely murder. They murder. They it's like a slow murder, like a strangling. It just kind of like just strangles out all of the passion of the soul. We lose touch with what's really enlivening, what's really nourishing, what's really satisfying, and we settle for these little comforts. And it's kind of like I think if we all had like a little camera facing back at us of ourselves while we're like zoning out on Netflix and like munching away on a bag of Doritos or something like that, we would look at ourselves and be kind of disappointed. It's like, look what I've become. I've just plugged into this machine, and now I go, and how many hours of the day do I waste away this way? Whereas the passion of the soul, that deep spiritual insight, that's what we should get when we're in the Bhakti Yoga Sangha, right? When we're in the association of the Bhakti Yogis, there's music. We're talking about this last show, not the Q&A that we did, but last Friday, right? The music, the culture, the dancing, the cuisine, the cooking, the deep discussions. This is what life's meant for, and this lust for comfort just seems to strangle it.
We've been talking a little bit about, not you and I, but me and some people, talk about codependence and how we give in to somebody's desires, even at the cost of our own well-being. Problem with codependency, and that is sometimes also the same way we that giving in is a type of also, I'd rather have peace than stick up for myself. Because this person I'm in a relationship with, they just won't. If I stick up for myself, if I step up, if I protect myself, then if I step out of then no comfort will be there, and it's going to be exhausting. So I was thinking, when I read this, I thought of this too. It was this another quote I read. To avoid, if you avoid conflict, right, in the name of comfort, if you avoid conflict to keep the peace, you cause a war inside yourself. What do you think about that? There's a war inside yourself.
Yeah, I think sometimes it seems like it's the opposite. It seems like the war is to battle the mind in the senses, but the fact is they start to back down, right? Like, in other words, those things that seem so austere in the beginning, the mind surrenders at a certain point. The mind and the senses will surrender, and then you're living a much more dynamic life. But you just got to do that first battle, and then you're free. Otherwise,
It's
it's like
it's
you're locked in.
disempowering when the senses and the mind, right? When they start to own you.
Yeah.
We just sort of give in to them. That could be
Yeah.
done with anything. It could be eating. I just can't control my eating. It can be done with this type of codependency where you just never stick up for yourself and people just walk all over you. Or when you're just like when you're gripped by any type of urge that owns you. And then all of a sudden almost like you're living in this type of you throw out all reason, all common sense. It's just easier, and then and we just feel completely disempowered.
Yeah. I'm with you. Just take the most simple thing. Like almost all yogis will agree, that how beneficial it is to wake up early in the morning, to rise early, which for a lot of people is going to be austere. A lot of people, that's the very first thing. You get off on the wrong foot and you just like kind of like lounge out there in bed for a long time and don't rise and utilize these most valuable moments like early in the day. You miss out on that. You kind of like roll out of bed real late. A few hours of your day waste away, and those hours might actually be the most like positive hours that you spend in the day, for your spiritual life. And it seems so hard to do. You're lying there in bed and all the senses and the mind and the senses are saying, just stay right here. This is exactly where you belong. Things are so comfortable. Don't go anywhere. And it can be a battle, just to actually to drag this bag of bones, off of the mattress and into the world and start operating. But what happened, and particularly this is kind of like one of the benefits of living in an ashram, where like you kind of get woken up in the morning, and you in a sense you're a little bit like forced to get up. Okay, everybody's getting up. Now's the time to get up. I've agreed. I've kind of bought into this idea that I'm going to do this, and you get up and you benefit from it, and you realize that little bit of suffering that I went through, rising out of bed, it just lasted for a few moments, and then I was off and I was on my way, and I was utilizing my time in a better way. And then what you find is it's not long until you realize that this isn't so difficult to get up early in the morning. As a matter of fact, it's quite natural, and I quite like it. And in this way, we train our mind rather than our mind training us, or let's say our mind conquering us, or here it even says more or less the mind killing us, killing the passion of the soul. We say, I'm in control. I'm in charge here, and we benefit from it. It becomes easier and easier. You there, Raghunath? I know we lost you for a second.
Did you know I disappeared?
I knew.
My computer froze. You were talking.
Yeah.
I disappeared. I got back on. You were still talking. I was like, he didn't miss a beat.
No, I just kept going because I knew you'd come back.
Okay.
But I talked about
I'll always come back. I'm like one of those dogs.
Yeah, but you're coming in the wrong microphone now, I think.
Yeah.
But I was talking about, like waking up in the morning can seem real austere and nearly impossible for a lot of people, but you start to train yourself and you get used to it, and then it becomes easy, right? And you benefit.
Yeah. I think I have to be in the bad microphone for a little while.
Okay.
I've got some issues again. I've got issues, Kostuba.
I know. Like, why don't you just charge your computer? Why don't you just plug it in? What's the problem? Can't you just plug it in like other people in the world?
Can I blame somebody for this? Is there somebody to blame about my personal?
We're trying to raise our professionalism here, Raghunath. This is a simple one. Plug the computer in. It's like
it seems elementary. Like the easiest thing.
Yeah.
I was like, why is my camera so foggy compared to Kostuba? I was like, oh, there's food on my camera. How did I get food on my camera?
Yeah. All right. So why don't we get into
Bhagavatam, sir?
Bhagavatam. Let's go.
Narayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narotamam devim saraswatim vyasam dato jayam mudirayat. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is our very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances to the Supreme Lord Narayan, unto Narayan Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and to Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Nasta prayeshva badrish unityam bhagavat sevaya bhagavati utamasloke bhaktir bhavati naistiki, by regular attendance in classes in the Bhagavatam and by rendering service to the pure devotee. All that is troublesome in the heart will become eradicated, and loving service to the Supreme Lord, who is praised with transcendental songs, will be established as an irrevocable fact. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Salakaya Chakshurunmadatam yena tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkness of ignorance. My teachers are opening my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my obeisances at their lotus feet.
Okay.
Guess where we are?
We are in Canto 4, Chapter 25. And Mare said we're in text 14?
Don't ask me now.
I think we
Sure.
did 13. Let me check. King Puranjan. Ultimate insufficiency. Yeah, we're at text 14. Now things are going to start to unfold here.
Wait a second.
What's your problem, Ragnar?
Oh, I went to the wrong chapter. I was like, King Bana. That was a long time ago.
That was a long time ago.
Okay. Chat 25, text 14. Gotcha.
Yeah. So now we're hearing the analogy is starting to unfold, right? It's going to unfold right now. It begins with understanding that Puranjana is the literally Puranjana means like the enjoyer, like within the city, right? And so it means the soul. And the city of 9 gates represents the body. And so we also heard that there was an unknown friend as well accompanying the king, right? And that's the Paramatma. Yeah.
Like God within the heart.
God within the heart. And now we're going to hear a bit at length about the body, and then the allegory is going to expand to the mind and to the senses and to the prana and then to time. These are all the different elements of, like our existence. And so they're going to unfold. But we're going to spend a few verses here going into the details of the body. So why don't you go ahead and get started with it?
Okay. The city was surrounded by walls and parks, and within it were towers, canals, windows, and outlets. The houses were decorated with the domes made of gold, silver, and iron.
Okay, so all of these have different meanings. It's different teachers of this have, classical teachers have interpreted these in different ways. It says the walls represent the skin.
Mm-hmm.
The parks means the hairs on the skin.
Okay.
Towers mean like the highest parts of the body, like the head or the nose.
Okay.
Trenches or canals are the wrinkles and the depressions in the body.
Sure.
The windows represent the eyes.
Okay.
The gates represent the eyelids.
Eyelids, good.
And then these houses made of gold, silver, and iron represent
rings on our fingers, maybe.
No, they represent like the 3 modes of material nature: goodness, passion, and ignorance.
I like my fingers better. I think.
Well, how do you like this one? How about mucus, bile, and air? Because that's also like the tree dhatus, from Ayurveda.
Why would that be rings? Why would that be gold, silver?
I don't know, but that's the way they said it.
Pearl of mucus.
Anyway, that's what they say.
Anyway, that's what the acharyas say. Who am I to argue with them? All right. Next.
Text 15.
Alrighty. Text 16. Text 15.
Text 15, I believe. Oh, text 16, you're right.
Okay. In that city, there are many assembly houses, street crossings, streets, restaurants, gambling houses. Isn't it interesting? There's always been gambling houses.
Sure.
Markets, resting places, flags. There's always been flags. Festoons. We got to bring back more festoons in our culture. I don't even know what a festoon is. What's a festoon?
A festoon. I used to know, but I forgot. I looked it up at one point.
Festoon.
Let me pull it.
Beautiful parks. All these surrounded the city. Hey, by the way, everybody on Zoom, you got to make the hashtags today because I cannot. No.
They do every time, Raghunath.
They do every time? Okay, make those hashtags and put a hashtag in front of it so I know what you're talking about.
Okay, Raghunath, a festoon is like a chain or a garland of flowers, leaves, or ribbons hung in a curve as a decoration.
Okay, like on the 4th of July in America, they make festoons, like red, white, and blue festoons.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So we didn't do 15 though. Text 15.
Really?
Yeah.
Can you read that, please?
All right.
The floors of the houses in the city were made of sapphire, crystal, diamonds, pearls, emeralds, and rubies. Because of the luster of the houses in the capital, the city was compared to the celestial town named Bhogavati.
Bhogavati. So here, the capital of the state refers to the heart.
Interesting.
The floors made of sapphire, crystals, diamonds, pearls, emeralds, and rubies. This refers to the various desires and plans for material enjoyment.
Mm-hmm.
The assembly house means the heart, the center of all remembrances, forgetfulness, and deliberation. The street crossings represents the place below the palate where the passages of the mouth, the nose, and the eyes and the ears all meet.
Huh.
The flags and festoons represent the palms and the soles of the feet. The streets represent the Shushumna, Ida, and Pingala running down the spine. The gambling houses, these are just channels of energy, that the yogis know about. The gambling houses means the gross location of the senses.
Okay.
Market means the mind or the brain.
Interesting.
And the resting place is the chitta. And
Market
chitta,
of the Mind. That could be a good band name too. We're Market of the Mind.
yeah.
Louisville.
And chitta here, I think, means like the subconscious mind.
All right.
Okay.
They're really stretching it with the
And
analogies.
you know what? We don't have to worry about this too much. As this goes forward, we're focusing on the real fundamental kind of aspects of this allegory, which is, again, the soul, the body, the mind, the senses and the sense objects, prana, and time. These will play the real big roles in this. And we'll get into that soon.
The branches of the trees standing on the bank of the lake received particles of water.
I don't think you've done
carried by-
17 yet, Raghunath.
You can't miss one thing here because the message board people are all over you.
Well, don't read the message board, just read the verses. And there won't be a
17.
problem.
On the outskirts of that city were many beautiful trees and creepers encircling a nice lake. Also surrounding that lake were many groups of birds and bees that were always chanting and humming.
This is interesting, Raghunath.
Is it?
Yeah.
Tell me.
Because, well, we say the birds and the bees, like, like when we say, oh, you'll have to have a talk about the birds and the bees, right? Like meaning like romance, or sexuality, right? So what the Acharya said here is that these trees, creepers, the lakes, the birds, the bees, it says these represent the favorable conditions surrounding the sex impulse.
Huh. We say birds and bees
There
about
you go.
sex.
Maybe that's where it came from. Yeah.
Interesting.
Okay. Text 18.
The branches of the trees standing on the bank of the lake received particles of water carried by the spring from the falls coming down from the icy mountain.
So this represents the different types of rasa or smell.
Interesting. 19. In such an atmosphere, even the animals of the forest became nonviolent, non-envious, like the great sages. Consequently, the animals did not attack anyone. Over and above everything was the cooing of the cuckoos. Any passing along the path were invited by that atmosphere to take rest in that nice garden.
It says the non-violent animals represents the freedom from negative karmic reactions due to pious results.
Interesting.
Yeah, I had a dream like this the other night, Raghunath.
Did you?
All the animals were there, and they were all living peacefully together.
Oh,
There's monkeys, there's sheep, there are lions, there's
lions embracing
deer.
sheep.
But they weren't embracing, but like they were all kind of just I was the only one that was like kind of fearful. I was kind of like, I was a little
Right,
bit
something's up. They're setting me up for this.
Well, I was kind of walking around them rather than go through them because of the lions and all that. But any case,
Some on my many hashtags I follow of animals attacking, I sometimes run a case where like sometimes a lion or some type of wild cat kills a mother deer and the baby's like left with the lion and the lion just starts taking care of the baby.
No, that happens.
That happens. That's the coolest thing when they become a surrogate parent.
Yeah, sometimes I was one time I was staying at New Vrindavan.
Yeah.
And I woke up
I
woke up in the morning. There's a little baby deer right outside, like right outside the door, like a little brand new born little deer.
and you were chanting japa, you put down your japa beads and like, oh, let me take care of this deer. Let me give
No,
up my meditation and take
I
care
didn't.
of this
You know
deer.
what they did is that they took it and they gave it to the cows, and the cows raised it and it became just like one of the family.
It's one of the cats. Very interesting.
Yeah. Yeah.
When was the last time you were in New Vrindavan?
It's been a long time. Well, we got invited. I got invited to go there, and I feel bad.
Oh, I like how you corrected yourself. We got invited. I got invited.
Well, I don't know if you got invited or I don't remember that part or not. Whether it was both.
I won't
of us
take it
or-
personally, New Vrindavan. It's okay. You just like us too.
I definitely got invited. Maybe both of us. I forget. But I never got back, and I feel bad. New Vrindavan people, forgive me. Someday I want to come back.
Yeah,
Because they named a cow after me there now too. You know, like I go.
What?
Yeah, you didn't know that?
Because stupid the cow.
Yeah, it was born on my birthday on this past year. They named a cow, a little calf after me.
Okay, New Vrindavan people, what's going on? When are we going to get the Raghunath cow? It's completely unfair.
Okay, so Raghunath, the whole thing is about to get very interesting now.
All right.
Okay, like the interesting, like externally, but as well as interesting in terms of the meaning and everything like that. Like if this was a movie, this is where the whole thing starts.
This is where, and here it is.
Yeah, ready? Text 21.
While wandering here.
Oh no, text 20. I'm sorry, text 20.
While wandering here and there in that wonderful garden.
So what is wandering in the garden? That means the soul within the body, right? I'm in this wonderful body that has so much potential to enjoy.
Right?
Okay. Yeah.
King Puranjana suddenly came in contact with a very beautiful woman who was walking there without any engagement. La, la, la. He had 10 servants with her, and each servant had hundreds of wives accompanying him.
Okay.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
The servants were men, and each servant had hundreds of wives accompanying.
Right. So now there's something that we need to be clear about here.
Yeah, what?
Because it appears that the temptress has now entered the story, right?
Yes.
But what this is really about is it's saying this beautiful woman, or she'll become the queen, she represents the mind. Okay. And let's say the materially influenced mind, right? The materially programmed mind. She represents that.
I can relate to that.
Her servants, she has 10 servants. Now, in Sankhya philosophy, what are there 10 of?
The elements.
Nope.
Senses.
10 senses, right? Like we say there's 5 senses, but they call those the gyanendriyas, the knowledge acquiring senses.
Right.
The eyes, the ears, the nose, the tactile sense, the touch and taste. That they recognize those as 5 senses. Then they also say that those are knowledge acquiring senses. Jnana, indriya means senses. So gyanendriyas, the knowledge acquiring senses. But they also say the karmendriyas, the senses of action. There's also 5 of them. You know what the 5 are, Raghunath?
Don't put me in the hot seat today. Hot seats on Monday.
All right. So they represent like you can say the hands are the ability to grip, the legs are the ability to move, like locomotive, the voice, and as well as organs of generation and evacuation. Right, these 5.
Nityananda Chandra's on the board already. This guy is Nityananda Chandra's quite a bit. Is he a sage group leader?
He is.
I want to be in his sage group.
Yeah, you could do it, Raghunath. For real. Why just talk about it? Do it. Get in it.
All right.
Okay. So we have 10 senses.
Hey, are you going to go to the Youth of Today show in New York?
I didn't even know there was a Youth of Today show.
I know, I forgot too, but Nityananda Chandra wanted to come, so he's coming with his daughter. Why don't you come?
When is it?
Oh, you're not going to believe this. You are not going to believe this.
Okay. We'll see whether or not
I get a text message from Walter from Youth of Today.
Bass player, yeah.
And he's like, I want to take your 300-hour in India. I'm dead serious.
Get out. Oh, that's awesome. Okay. I wanted to meet him because I never met him before.
He's very, very cool. He's like, yeah, I've been doing yoga for like 15 years on and off. I really want to come to India and get the whole damn experience.
You think he'll do it for real?
He called me up, told me, how do I sign up?
Let's do it. Awesome.
He's doing it.
Well, when's your show in when's your show in New York?
I don't know. It's November. We're doing like 4 shows.
Okay. Right in the middle of Kartik. Trying to drag me in. Trying to be all focused. Okay.
Yes.
So the queen represents the materially influenced mind.
Okay.
And he's about to unite with that queen. Right? He's about and the her 10 servants represent the 10 senses. There's this connection between the mind is like the center of all the senses, and those senses each have tons of servants. Right? Those. What did it say again? She was the queen. She was beautiful queen. She had 10 servants, and then each servant had hundreds of wives. And those wives represent the different desires of all the different senses. Okay, so when you connect with when you begin to identify with the mind, then along with it comes the senses and all of their desires. That's where Perunjan is now, right? He's in the body, he's connecting through the mind, and there's the senses, and then all the desires of the senses. This is us. We are that king within the city of the body. We're seeing the world through the mind, connected to our senses with so many desires. Okay.
Continue.
Please. Text 21.
Text 21. The woman was protected on all sides by a 5-hooded snake.
Mm-hmm.
She was very beautiful and young, and she appeared very anxious to find a suitable husband.
Okay. So the 5-hooded snake represents the prana.
The 5 pranas in the body.
Yeah, the 5 pranas, the 5 airs.
Prana, apana, vyana, samana, udana.
And the fact that the queen is searching for a suitable husband, is that what it said? Yeah. It means that the intelligence is a material element. It doesn't, or we can say the mind, right? The mind is a material element. The soul, this, it's interesting, right? Like if we were to use an analogy to say like that the mind is a computer,
Yeah.
then what would the senses be?
The screen.
Close, but like the sense.
What happened to no hot seat on Monday?
Yeah, I just remember that. I felt bad as soon as I said it. But the senses would be like, what would be the eyes of a computer?
Eyes of the computer would be the camera.
Thank you. And what would be the ears of the computer?
What happened to no hot seat on Monday?
Well, I'm making it so easy that what would be the
like
ears?
Even Roganoff will get this one.
Well, on a Monday, nobody made you your stimulating beverage this morning, But what would the ears of the computer? What brings in sound to the computer?
Would be the microphone. The microphone.
And what would be the voice of the computer? Because again, voice is considered one of the 10 senses here, right? What would be the voice of the computer?
The speakers. The speakers.
There you go. The speakers, right? So the mind is like is the computer. The senses are like the plug-in devices, camera, microphone, speaker, etc. Now, in this analogy, what would let's say, what would be the soul?
The actual person using the computer.
Yeah, the user, right? But in this analogy, actually, the like if we look at it through yoga philosophy, would actually say that there's 2 things that the computer needs. It needs a user, but it needs a battery also. And so we are kind of like both. Like if our mind is the computer, we, the soul, we're the user of the computer, but we're also like the battery of the computer. We're the ones that give it power, that it lights it up, right? So I think the best analogy would be like, like how you could like run electricity by like riding a bicycle. Yeah. So imagine if like to use your computer, you had to like pedal, right? We'd all be getting real healthy then, right?
Yeah.
And then, and so or like running on a track or, like, so like
store that energy if we could store it.
Yeah, you harness that energy. So that's what the soul is, the user of the mind in the computer, but the soul is also like that battery. It lights it up. So the mind is nothing without the soul. It doesn't turn on. It doesn't, it doesn't operate. So when it says that she's anxious to find a suitable husband, it means that the mind does not operate without the self, without a connection to the soul.
Alrighty. Text 22. Yes, text 22. The woman's nose, teeth, and forehead were all very beautiful, and her ears were equally very beautiful, and were bedecked with dazzling earrings.
Okay, so these are referring to the knowledge acquiring senses. That now that everything's hooked up, right? So she's got a beautiful nose, which is the smell. She's got teeth, which represents taste. Her forehead represents clarity of intelligence. And the earrings, have to do with the potential to learn through hearing.
All right, text 23. The waist and hips of the woman were very beautiful, and she was dressed in a yellow sari with a golden belt. While she walked, her ankle bells rang. She appeared exactly like a denizen of the heavens.
Okay, so here it says that the yellow sari and the gold belt represent the intelligence or the mind covered with the Rajaguna, covered with the mode of passion, covered with that feeling, that influence that I'm not satisfied, that I need more, right? That I need more to be happy.
Where are you getting these purports from? That's not in the purport. Are you studying other purports on the side?
I have my Bhagavat Subodhini, this study of the
Okay, great.
But all this becomes revealed more still, because again, what's going to happen in the chapters that follow is that King Prachini Barhishad is going to say to Narada, could you please explain this whole thing? And then
Sure.
he'll explain it again still there. So you could draw from either those purports or from the following chapters.
Gotcha. With the end of
now hold it. Now it gets very interesting, Raghunath.
All right.
The movie gets more interesting.
With the end of her sari, the woman was trying to cover her breasts, which were equally round and well placed.
There you go.
Side by side. They're well placed breasts.
Yeah.
She again and again tried to cover them out of shyness, while she walked exactly like a great elephant, right? Elephants are very majestic when they walk. The two breasts represent attachment and envy.
Oh, are you reading the commentary?
That's the purport there.
Yeah. Well, let's get into this here. That it says, okay, what the two breasts, Prabhupada says envy here, right? And that's one way to say it, and again, and we've said this before, if you look up the word, I'm going to look it up right now. We don't have Mary here, but I'm going to pull it up, okay? Envy. And the first definition is the one that we usually go with, which is like a feeling of discontented or resentful longing aroused by someone else's possessions, qualities, or luck, right? So generally that's what we think, more like jealousy when we think of envy. But if we go back to the origin, Middle English, also in the sense hostility, enmity, right? So I believe that this is what Prabhupada is saying here. When he says envy, and even to be more clear in this context, we mean like the two words used are raga and dvesha, right? And in yoga terminology and texts, they come together a lot, right? Raga means attachment, and dvesha, Prabhupada saying envy, but we could say animosity. But really, what we mean is like attachment and aversion. I like something, I don't like something. Right. And so it's saying that the two breasts of the queen, what is a prominent feature of the mind, right?
The breasts.
Yeah. Well, here the breasts represent, attachment and aversion. I like something, I don't like something. I want something, I don't want something. Right. And it says that it says that they're round. They're both round. They're kind of like equal. It means like they're equally bewildering. In other words, our attachments and our aversions, both of them bewilder us, right? It kind of it goes a little bit back to what we're into our Khalil Gibran thing, like we want comforts, we don't want discomfort, but we become bewildered by them both.
As brahmacharis, they would say, not just as brahmacharis, but they'd say, attachment and aversion are two sides of the same coin.
Yes, exactly. You can't have one without the other. You can't take half of a coin.
Not into this. So against this. Once you're really against something, that means you're usually attached to it.
Right. Yeah. It's a different. Yeah. It's same thing in one sense. So, and then it says that she was trying to hide them, right? She was trying to cover them with the end of her sari. And what that is meant to represent is that cultured people, if a cultured person, it says, tries to hide their raga and their dvesha, right? Like a cultured person will come off at least as like content, right? anyway,
right.
that's what it's saying that it represents. But this, I think this is what we can really get into right now, Raghunath, is this whole idea of raga and dvesha. Bhagavad Gita, goes into quite often, right? In text
Sure.
264, Arjuna was asking, the what are the qualities of a person who's self-realized, right? And Krishna says, raga dvesha vimuktais tu, vishayan indrayascharan, atma vasyer vidheyatma prasadam adhigachati. That a person who is free, that he describes here are the qualities, right? That the person will be free from attachment and aversion and able to control the senses through the regulative principles of freedom, right? Through the practices of bhakti, through the practices of yoga. And in this way, they're able to get the prasadam, they can attain like the grace, the mercy, of God. It begins with controlling our attachments and our aversions.
Yeah, be cautious of when people are very adverse to something. It's generally a smoke screen for some deep-rooted attachment that they're trying to sort of disguise themselves or cloak themselves in,
Yeah. Now, this is really kind of like the basis of our material existence. Is this, this tension between what I want and what I don't want, what I'm attached to and what I'm averse to. Later in the Gita, in the 7th chapter, Krishna is going to say, Icha dvesha samutena dvanda mohena bharata sarvabhutani samoham sarge yanti parantapa. That, oh, Arjuna, O conqueror of the foe, all living entities are born into delusion, bewildered by dualities arisen from desire and hate, or again, we could say, attachment and aversion, right? That this is kind of like our human condition. Like this is kind of how the machine works, right? It's like, when the queen steps in, she has 2 breasts, right? And when we accept a mind, it has attachment and aversion, and that's the programming within the mind. That's how it works. But there's, and that's what bewilders us, right? We're thinking there's something external that I'm attached to. There's something external that I'm averse to. And the wiser person learns to move through this world like without being controlled by that, right? Now, there's some nice commentaries on that verse. What's absorbing your mind right now? I see you reading
the purport, my friend, my purport.
purport.
You thought it was something.
Okay.
You thought it was so something very good, my friend.
Let's hear it.
Prabhupada says that nigu huntim in the verse, trying to cover, right, indicates that even if one is tainted by kama, lobha, krodha, right, lust, greed, anger, they can be transfigured by Krishna consciousness. In other words, you can utilize your lust or your desires for serving Krishna. Being impelled by lust, an ordinary worker will work hard day and night. But similarly, a devotee can work hard day and night to satisfy Krishna, right?
We transform it. Yeah.
Yeah, we transform, we upcycle these lower passions into higher passions. Just like the Prabhupada said, Krodha was just like Hanuman. He was angry at the demons, so he used it to protect or to go after Mother Sita in service of Lord Ram.
So anger would be like a symptom of aversion to something. It's not that it doesn't exist or that you might be able to completely eliminate it, but you can engage it in a way that's positive.
There's a pure form of it. And greed, of course, we can be greedy for the association of devotees, greedy for knowledge. That's where they exist in their original form.
All right.
Huh?
Well, why don't we wrap it up? We can pick up here. I got some great commentaries. We'll get more into this attachment and aversion tomorrow. But for now, are there
Where's
any
all hashtags? No one wrote any hashtags.
I see some hashtags. I see a few, but not very many. So we're on our own.
There's 2 hashtags, and mine's one of them. Oh, wait a second. We've got Catherine A's hashtags here.
Oh, very good.
Hashtag.
Okay. See, she shaved her head and she's just like totally on the ball. She's
liberated now.
Stepping up.
Be Bhakti, be free. I don't even remember that happening, but during the show, but I like it. Hashtag attain the grace of God by controlling the senses. Hashtag get adversed, not attached. Get adversed. No, I don't get that one. Hashtag
Maybe she's saying by reading
transfigure your
verses.
desires.
Maybe by reading verses.
Oh,
Was that the idea? Was it a play on words there? Word
I don't
nerd?
know. She's word nerding me, maybe. Hashtag transfigure your desires to satisfy Krishna. That's good. Hashtag upcycle lower passions for higher passions. I like that, upcycle.
Okay.
Hashtag shave your head, parentheses, your ego, and liberate your soul.
How about here's another one. Hashtag attachment aversion is the same thing.
Yes.
And you don't have any of those here. I'd like to wrap it. You look lost, Raghunath. You're so.
So
We gotta get
lost.
Mara back on the show.
And
And
hashtag I love a woman with a nice set of ears. Back
is that
on
what it
it.
said?
With a nice set of ears. Thanks everybody for joining us. Want to join us live on Zoom? You can do it. Email Mara, wisdomofthesages108@gmail.com. Remember, Zeb, Yogi Raj, has a yoga class for our Patreon members today. He's great. He's the best. We love him. If you're not a Patreon member, you like to support what we're doing, you can do that by going to patreon.com/wisdomofthesages. That's how you keep this boat floating for the price of a soy chai latte. One soy chai latte, that could be a donation. It's like a $5 drink. That could be a donation. Do we give you more pleasure than a soy chai latte? Maybe not, but maybe. Trade that soy latte in. Although oat milk's the new soy. You know that, right?
What's that?
Oat milk's the new soy.
Oat milk?
Yeah,
What is it?
it's the new soy.
The new what?
The new soy milk is oat milk.
Okay.